Think Bigger Podcast 2019 recap. This episode, we are going to go over this amazing year of growth with all of you. The podcast, its reach, the various platforms that it is on, it has created a movement and a backing and a support base comprised of you guys from various cities and states and countries and cultures and age groups, and it's truthfully humbling anytime I stop and think about it. And it's interesting because that was the goal. That has been the goal. That is what people over the years who inspired me to step out of my comfort zone to begin the podcast, that's what they were telling me. You know, people want to hear something other than entertainment and nonsense and comedy. There is an experience, the human experience that you are in touch with and focus on and think about, and people want that. People do that on their own, but in a situation where an environment exists for them to foster more thought and stimulate that part of the brain and the soul. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about that. The content of the podcast is not just made up. You know, this is life. We're all living life, and cars and shoes and music and fitness and all these different things that we're all into or trying to accomplish, etc. The one common denominator is us. We are humans having the human experience, and we are all in our own minds, and our thoughts and the way that we think are what help or hurt us. And so that's why it was titled the Think Bigger Podcast, as part of the Think Bigger project, the larger brand and movement. And it's just been amazing, you know. So what I'd like to do is I want to recap this wonderful year with you guys. And let me start by doing that with thanking you guys, the existing listeners. You guys are the foundation. You are the base. A lot of you guys come from the automotive world because I have made my life and living in the last, 15 some odd years. It's been very automotive based, my car building, magazine features, then becoming a journalist, photography, writing for various print and digital publications, building cars to go up against some of the best cars of the world, building for television, and these various experiences and accolades and accomplishments in the end are still just one part of my life. I love cars, but they are part of my life. They are not my life. And so I want to address both of the bases. As it grows, it's only natural that some people, they might not have listened to previous episodes. For those of you listening, the new people listening, I appreciate you. You guys are joining a movement and a way of thinking. That's what the Think Bigger project is, and the Think Bigger podcast is all about. It's the human experience and helping us get through it and excel and grow and achieve what we want and need to. So, thank you so much to the existing listeners and to the new listeners. I'm able to see the demographics and the statistics and the locations and all those types of things. And it's amazing, Just the other day in the live stream, we were kind of talking about various things and touching on the podcast. This is on an Instagram live stream. And there was England, Scotland, Wales, Belgium, Germany, Spain, Chile, Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. At one point, almost all of those, if not all of those countries, were in the live at the same time. Might just be one person from there, might be one person from here, but think about that. And it's just I never allow that to kind of go over my head, the globe, the world, Indonesia, the Philippines, and New Zealand, Australia. It's just amazing, and you guys are an incredible group of people. The reviews over the last year here in 2019 that you guys have left have indicated to me that the movement and idea and premise of the project and the podcast, it isn't just working, it is taking a hold of people who want something better for themselves. And I appreciate you guys. You guys are helping my life experience, my human experience, as I humbly believe I'm doing for you. So for the foundational listeners, for the people who have been here since the beginning of January 1, 2019, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. To the new listeners, you're now starting to kind of get a feel for what this podcast is, okay? And if you haven't, please take the time to go back, listen to various episodes. It doesn't really matter the order. It's not designed to be done that way. It's not like a TV sitcom. Each episode stands on its own, and each episode can affect you if you allow it to, if you listen. Now, what a lot of people, from the feedback that I've gotten, what a lot of people say is they're listening to this while cleaning the house, wrenching in the garage, commuting to and from work, picking the kids up. So in those instances, right, it is going to be a little bit difficult to maybe take notes of a timestamp of a certain minute and second where something was said that you want to go back and listen to again. Or if I suggest, hey guys, go and look into this person, or maybe read this book, or listen to this podcast, or etc., it might be difficult for you guys to do that. But if and when possible, I encourage you to take notes, to write down your thoughts and the timestamps so you can reference those things later, and as well do so in the comment section on Instagram. For each of these podcast episodes, there is a specific post put on my personal Instagram, and I do that not just to announce that the new episode is live to everyone, but it creates a comment section which can be a forum to continue the conversation. So I encourage all of you, please take the time to interact. Many people do this via DM, so I have gotten some of the most profound, emotional DMs ever that I could have imagined from you guys who are pouring your heart out into some of these messages. They're lengthy. I mean, multiple paragraphs. And I've kept them private for those who did that. And I've always encouraged people, if this wasn't meant to be private, take the time to utilize the comment section on my Instagram or on YouTube. This is also, the podcasts are also available on the YouTube channel. Whichever one, but comment sections. Comment. Share your feedback, questions, concerns. You want clarification, anything like that. This is a us. It is a conversation. And so the comment section is a forum for comments and communication for the conversation to continue after you've listened to the podcast. This is not for entertainment. This is not to listen to and let just go in one ear and out the other. If that's what you're looking for, there's a lot of podcasts, and the Explore page on Instagram will provide you all the kind of like mindless, useless, time-killing entertainment that you might be looking for. And there's a time and a place for that, to unwind maybe from a stressful day. You kind of just want to have some white noise in the background, as some people say it. I get that. That's not what this is. This podcast is not for entertainment. It is for growth and maturity and progression, to stimulate you in a way that you may not have had happen, to provide you with a rhetorical question or a literal question that you need to answer within yourself, okay? This is about thinking bigger and growing and experiencing life in a totally different way and in a better way. Okay, this is meant to effect you and affect you. All right, for those of you, look that up. See the difference there. It matters, So I want to encourage you to please take notes, write down your thoughts and the timestamps to reference in the comment sections, or even in the live streams on my Instagram. I do personal live streams and we talk. So with that all being said, 2019 has been an amazing, crazy year, okay? The podcast is 5-star rated on Apple Podcasts. It's growing on Spotify. It's now available on iHeartRadio and other platforms, okay? And you guys are the reason for its growth because you listen, you believe in what you're listening to, you share it with other people, and subsequently it grows. And 2019 has been a year of growth for all of us. This has helped me work on things as a man and as an individual and as a human being living life. These are topics and thoughts that I believe all of us have. And so by sharing that, by bringing us together to have a conversation via podcast, I think it's therapeutic and it's healthy. Some people, don't have someone else to talk to. A lot of times it's easy for us to forget because we have people to talk to, or we have somewhere to go, or we have social circles, whoever that we is. Other people don't. So once again, thank you. I appreciate you. And let's continue to grow together. And 2019, you guys, let's go over it. The first episode is still the number one most listened to. And I think it's because that's where people kind of had their shirt collars grabbed. They were like, let me give this podcast a shot. I know Big Mike, or I've heard of Big Mike, or I read about him, or whatever brought them to it. Next thing you know, they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because this is not a bunch of dudes smoking weed and just talking about aliens. This is not someone preaching. I'm not preaching to you. I'm not wagging my finger at you. This is real, deep, emotional, thought-provoking subject matter. And the first episode was called, So You Think You're an Adult? Let's Have a Conversation. And if you haven't listened to that, my friends, or if you listened to it, and it was a year ago, essentially, right? I encourage you to listen to it again. There's other episodes that many people have messaged me and they've said that they've listened to them 1 or 2, 3 times. One guy messaged me and said, I had to listen to one episode 3 times in a row. That was, it's more than an hour. So you're talking about 4 hours of his time. And he said, I just did it over again and then a third time because I was listening and each thing made me think of something else. So there are a lot of you that are very active and make notes and comment and we discuss them. And I encourage the rest of you to do that, right? Please. That's what it's about. It's for you. It's for us. So your interaction is crucial. But the international growth, my time hosting and judging at events in London and Brussels and the Nürburgring in Germany has been an amazing experience because I get to be with you guys in your home city, state, country, your culture, your food, and experience you guys in your place, versus just online. And it's been amazing to be able to do that, So throughout this year, the first half of the year, the Think Bigger podcast were episodes like this, right? They are all entitled with questions, rhetorical type questions. So you think you're an adult? Let's have a conversation. Why do you really hate Mondays? What's your point? Do you guys see that? These are ways to challenge the way that you think. They are ways to challenge the way that you think. And then about halfway into the year, just after the halfway point, I introduced a section of the podcast called Community Conversations, right? Community Conversations is really self-explanatory. It is a conversation with a member of our community, and we learn not just about them, we learn from them. That's what it is. So I believe community is everything. It's all of us, whether it be business, car building, fitness, right? Life. The community is all of us. We are all part of the same community, right? So community conversations, I think a lot of my automotive listeners kind of presumed that that was going to be automotive guests, and that was an incorrect premise. So we have videographers, photographers, graphic designers, entrepreneurs, parents, business people, philanthropists, and so on and so forth. Many of them are people that I have been blessed to know and get to know over the years on a personal level, and some of them were just people that I knew of and or they knew of me, and I reached out and said, I'd love to have you as a guest. And so Community Conversations was introduced just after the halfway point of 2019. And thus far, the feedback has been amazing about that, you know? And what I would like for you guys to do is take the time to share suggestions for people and businesses that you believe would be quality, intelligent guests to have on the Community Conversations section of the Think Bigger podcast. Okay, so please take the time to do that. You can do that right now, jot it down and message me later. Comment on YouTube, comment on my Instagram, and share those things there. Okay, those are crucial feedback from you guys of people that you think would be beneficial and worthy to have a conversation with, and it will be noted and utilized. Okay, so that's very, very important to me. And what I've been able to do is, because I've been able to forge this career in this niche where I'm able to travel, you know. So let me touch on that for the new listeners, right? Some of you guys are going to be like, you know, this is very obvious, but there are many, many new listeners, many of which have come from Spotify or just YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and they don't know anything about me or us or the automotive community. So, you know, the algorithms and the search functions and the hashtags and search engine optimization and all of these things that kind of have played a role, there are people who are completely new to me and the automotive world that are listening and subscribe to the podcast. So for those of you that describes, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. So I'm able to travel. So what has happened over the years is the success of my personal automotive builds has led to, me being on the cover of the majority of the major publications from here to the UK. From 2008 on, the car has been in its various states the cover feature and cover vehicle for these major print magazine publications, and that led to me being asked to judge and host events that I would compete and win at, or something like that, and without really ever thinking it was going to exist, this entire kind of new realm. I think a lot of you kind of, I've been doing that for how many years now, but it's still something that I choose to keep fresh. Part of life is staying aware. That's how it can never get old. If you expect things, if you become complacent and jaded, guys, things will lose their luster. And by choosing, whether this be your loved one, your friends, right, the passions that you have in life, if you don't choose moment by moment, day by day, to keep them as important to you as they were in the beginning, it's dangerous. That's how you see marriages fail. That's how you see friendships fall apart. Because like anything, it takes work. You guys, work. There's this idea that friendships and marriages and love and passion they kind of all start to get put into this general vicinity, and it starts to go into your hobbies, your passions, your, the things you do outside of just relationships. If you don't stop and apply universally that passion is nothing without work. There's a whole episode that I touched on this, and it's going to go into more detail. But remember this right now, my friends, fans, and followers, new and old, I beg of you. Love and passion are nothing without work. For my car guys, there's this wonderful thing, passion. You have to have passion. If you love something, you'll never work a day in your life. Passion first and the rest will follow. All of that stuff is true in its own right, but it is crucial that you remember in the midst of any and all of it that it's nothing without work. Your love for someone means nothing if you don't work. What does work mean? How you show them, how you work to make sure that they feel loved, right? How you work to make sure that you are doing what you need to do as in your role in that business, in that startup company, in that entrepreneurial venture, in that marriage, in that friendship, in that car build, in your fitness journey. You can be excited and passionate and energetic all you want, but if you don't learn to focus that and channel that into hard, real work, it's all for nothing. And that seems to be the most simple and obvious yet overlooked aspect of a lot of what I have experienced and seen and continue to see, both in the automotive culture and in far more profound things like relationships and loved ones. Okay? So I beg of you guys, work. It takes work, And I have been able to find myself with a very beautiful opportunity to travel and see things and people in different places. This year alone in 2019, for example, I did 19 flights. Everywhere from Puerto Rico to Portland, from Seattle to Miami, from Philadelphia to London, Belgium, Germany, you guys, Chicago, Charlotte, and I can keep going. And each one of those places, I'm going to host an automotive event. I'm going to judge or run the judging for an automotive event. But what I always do, and for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you can see it. I'm going to be putting more content out for you guys about these types of things. But I don't just do the car world and the car life. I will look up monuments and tours and museums and history, food, locals, right? And I will go and experience the culture of the East, the culture of the South, the culture in the UK and Germany and the Belgians, and walk, the cobblestone streets of Bruges, Belgium, and listen to the languages that people are talking, and look at the different interactions of people. Look up the history of the street or the building that I'm, sitting in. You guys, a lot of times that kind of comes across as cheesy to people, and it's not. Life is beautiful if you let it be. Life is beautiful if you look past your phone and social media. Think bigger. You got to think bigger and get out of your own way. This is what the entire premise of every episode of the podcast is all about. The entire premise of what the Think Bigger project, all of the merchandise, the designs, everything that I put out to support the project is meaningful. It isn't just that some random design that I want to put up on the web store and sell. It's not. And I put out meaningful designs. Everything has a meaning, double meaning sometimes, So for those of you that are new, might be a lot to take in, but this is what you're in for. And I believe that it is beneficial, and you will be appreciative, like these people who've been here listening for a year, who interact with me on the daily, via IG, for example. You guys are amazing. So as I've traveled, I've been able to experience so many different things, like the Pacific Northwest, for example. I was in Portland and Seattle. There were multiple events, and I stayed up there. Good people, the weather, and just experiencing crisp, clean air, good food, and laughter, right? And the Super Street debacle. For those of you that know, you already know. But for those of you that don't, the last real major print magazine publication for the import automotive culture, which many of the listeners are rooted in, that one ended up going away this year. Earlier in the year, Super Street magazine did an event at the LeMay Automotive Museum in Washington, and I was able to go up there. You can actually watch a behind-the-scenes style vlog about it on my IGTV channel. That's actually something that I've been working on, these behind-the-scenes style vlogs that I have gotten a ton of amazing feedback from you guys. Please take the time to go to my IGTV and watch those vlogs. You can watch them on my YouTube channel as well if you prefer. But over the course of 2019, with Super Street, the IBOC meet, I'm the host of the IBOC Honda meet, Tuner Evolution car show series, MIMS Honda Day in the UK. This is where those 19 flights came from. And like I just mentioned, the Pacific Northwest, it's one of my favorite places in the country, regardless of, the rain. It's who's there, the energy and the people, and it's an amazing place to me. And I was able to go up there both to the Portland area for Tuner Evolution and to the Seattle area for the Super Street event at LeMay, which once again, take the time to watch the vlog about that and see how that went. But like anything, I stopped and spent an extra day or two to appreciate what was around me, That's part of the life experience, is absorbing what's going on around you, And then the IBOC meet, right? I host the IBOC meet, and we had the IBOC meet East. The East Coast meet was held in New Jersey, right near PA, and bringing together people to touch on a certain kind of demographic within the community, that people care more about quality, authenticity, and that type of group, as small as it is in comparison to the massive amounts of people within the ownership of imports, for example. It's a very special one, and I'm very deeply honored. 2020 will be year 16. But to be a part of this event that I used to attend, 15 years ago, and now I host it with my friend Ryan, who started it. It's a beautiful thing. And when we went out to the East to have that, I realized when looking through the calendar that First Class Fitment, an event that has really taken the East Coast by storm and become like this pinnacle event on the East, it carved out its own style, its own niche of class and energy and socialization, and the videography and photography of this car show was something that I had appreciated from afar. And I realized that I had this opportunity to invest a little bit of my time and money to stay longer and be a part of it. And I went to it. So I ended up spending a lot of time on the East Coast. If I ever can, I always do. So shout out to all of my people on the East, everyone from all the way up in New England, all the way down CT, New York, Jersey, PA, the tri-state guys. I appreciate all of you guys, and I'm blessed to have been able to spend time with a lot of you. So on that East Coast trip, we did the IBOC meet. And then, some of the people there, shout out to Ken from Central and other people. We got together, Rob from V Raceworks and some other people, shout out to Uptown, the Dominicans on the block, you know what I'm saying? Washington Heights. I appreciate all of you guys. To the Ricans, all my Ricans, I appreciate you guys. It's a beautiful thing, you guys. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do that, because what you see on your phone and your television and your YouTube is not, it's just a piece of reality. You need to experience people to really get a feel for it, you know? And so what I did was I stayed out there. I attended First Class Fitment. I did an amazing vlog about it. I got some people who don't usually like to talk. You know, shout out to Roy. Can I Beat Roy? You guys will see him and the different statements that were made in the vlog about First Class Fitment on my IGTV. Take the time to watch it if you haven't. I spent time over there, went up to Harlem with everyone for the IBOC meet. Then the next weekend I was all over Jersey and PA and New York, spending time with people, and I was able to sit down with people in their element, in their area, right? Their side of the country. And I did podcasts, community conversation podcasts with Patrick Colello, the founder of Honda Vintage Culture, a company that is licensed from Honda North America, that is based in the vintage racing roots of Honda. For a lot of people, they don't understand how far back, how deep, and how rich the racing lineage of Honda is. It has a stereotype. It has an image that people come up with in their minds, and it is a very, very skewed and thin perspective of a company that has a deeply, deeply successful and rich racing lineage. So Honda Vintage Culture, shout out to my guy Patrick. I sat down with him and we did a community conversations podcast. I sat down in Jersey with my friend Sebastian, who is a world famous photographer. Okay, he might kind of shy from that title, but he's a world famous photographer who does photography for some of the biggest pop and hip hop and current rappers and festivals that have a huge volume of music, and tens of thousands of people who love these artists go to these festivals like Soundset and Rolling Loud. He's part of the media team. He shot, I mean, you name it, just some of the biggest artists in the world, from I don't know, Post Malone, A$AP Rocky, DaBaby, and all of these like current artists that have millions upon millions of subscribers and followers and listeners. And Sebastian is part of the media for that. So we did an episode together. Halcyon Photo Anthony, who is also a world famous media figure, but he does videography. He also does photography, but he's a cinematographer. He's a videographer. Absolutely fantastic video, film production, self-taught. I mean, just an amazing episode that if you haven't listened to, you get the human side of these people. Many people who know the people or the companies that I may have already mentioned and will mention, they have a celebrity type aura to them. But Community Conversations is a podcast episode in which the human side of them and their personal life and experience is what we focus on. And it's relatable on a very deep level. I also sat down with Jason Mosley of Unlimited Exclusive. His company, he's a photographer, videographer, computer design, graphic design, car modifications, electronic work. I mean, he does a lot of different things. On top of that, we discuss how he was able to maintain this growth, this entrepreneurship, while being a single father, and the struggles, the physical pain, the lack of sleep, and these different types of things. Okay, you guys, it's a crucial Think Bigger podcast, Community Conversations episode, each one of these. And finally, I sat down with Prime NYC. Prime is a brand and a movement that's meant to bring a certain niche of the Japanese automotive culture together and educate those around that don't know about it. And so the two gentlemen, are both educated individuals. One works in a university, one works at the New York Times, and they together created this this movement and this company called Prime. And when you guys listen to the episode, you'll be able to understand what it's all about. But I was in Times Square, and we recorded that episode of the Think Bigger podcast at the world famous New York Times building in Times Square. I mean, just, whether I'm in a suburb of Jersey or I'm in Times Square, in the New York Times building in Times Square in Manhattan, there was a lot of experiences, and I absorbed it, and I appreciated it, and I put it together to give you guys this meaningful content. So that's part of what was really, really amazing about 2019, and then you have something outside of the US, right? So MIMS Honda Day, the UK's largest Honda performance event, right? I was in London twice, and what we do is we drive into France and we go into Brussels, Belgium, right? And we have an event there in Belgium, and then this year he expanded. So shout out to Dav out there in London. He expanded to have a MIMS Honda Day at the world famous Nürburgring, okay? The Nürburgring, the ring, the world's most famous track for all intents and purposes, which has like Porsche and Audi, testing centers and just some of the most epic racing, right? And here we are on this world famous track, and it is a Honda only, a Honda specific enthusiast event. It was incredible, right? And I appreciate all of the Germans, the Belgians, the Dutch, the English, the Welsh, and the Scottish that I have met at all of these different places. And I will be back in 2020 between 4 to 6 times in London and the UK and Belgium and Germany for MIMS Honda Day, and also an event called Japanese Performance Show, which is all types of vehicles, and it's a curated, vetted, quality car event out there. So once again, to the Europeans and the Brits and everyone out there who are listening, you guys are appreciated, and I look forward to spending time with all of you out there. I have made some very deep and meaningful relationships with people, and I value them very much. And then Puerto Rico, Tuner Evolution Puerto Rico. I have always known that the Puerto Ricans were hardcore in anything that they do, from, music, clothing, automotive building, right? And going to Puerto Rico, even though I had prepared myself, there was no way I could have known how amazing that experience was going to be. The Puerto Rican car building is amazing. The variety, the styles, they're into power and speed and drag racing. And on these little islands, you have some of the fastest cars in the world. They have no problem working their ass off and saving money to ship the car to Florida so they can race on U.S. soil for events and going up to the east. And I mean, you guys, there is a vlog I did on the Puerto Rico trip. It's just an absolutely incredible culture and people that are thriving and surviving after the craziness. There are parts of the island that still are just destroyed, and there's no electricity and there's no reconstruction. Still, everyone's forgotten all about the disaster, and going there and seeing areas where it looks like the disaster happened 2-3 weeks before. And it's very difficult, and then in the midst of all of that, you have people who are happy and laughing and living life. And so that was a very enriching experience, both as a hardcore automotive guy and as a human being. Okay, so shout out to the Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico and everywhere else. You guys have shown me love. When I was on the East, there was just a lot of hospitality that I appreciate from everyone, So, I'm kind of all over the place with these things, but 2019 was crazy and it was all over the place. I mean, the IBOC meet, like we mentioned earlier, one of the most beloved locations is in Ohio, which is the heart of America, right? And there in Ohio, we have an event at the Honda Heritage Center, a small museum that's across the street from a massive plant that provides jobs for thousands and thousands of Americans. And then down the way, there's the plant that produces the NSX. And I've been able to have a tour, in that facility. And the Honda Heritage Center is a very, very well curated, small but beautiful museum. And we have the gathering there. And so you have people that are driving from all over the place to go to this Midwest meet. And the guys over there, shout out to them, going to Ohio State games and tailgating, and families and kids and people who love the Honda brand in a very real way. They work there as engineers, as assembly, as variety of things, And we're in the middle of Ohio, in a place where right down the way you have people who still think that that's an import, a Jap import, or why are you not support America, when that car was built down the street by Americans on American soil and has been there for decades, right? So there's a lot of stereotyping that still exists, either by choice, by sheer choice of anger and ignorance, or by naivete. People just don't know. And so my hosting, the vlog that I did about it, and certain live streams that we've done about it, those are all addressing these incorrect stereotypes. So there's so much that was covered in either podcast episodes or vlog episodes that are on, my channel. And you guys, if you're thinking that you're gonna watch them and it's just gonna be cars, that's not correct. So take the time, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications on my personal Instagram, and you'll see that the content is enriching. Every once in a while you're going to get pictures of cars, but there's more to it than that. The community, the European community. I hosted Eibachtoberfest, which is held at the Eibach facility in Corona, California, celebrating European car culture, the Porsches and the Euros, the BMWs, the old, the new, right? Many Honda guys are now into Porsches and some of the ways they do Porsches. And, you just get to see this style kind of spill across the manufacturing limitations, right? And it's just a beautiful thing. I keep myself diverse. My life is you guys, life is as amazing as you let it be. If you open your eyes and think bigger, there's so much to be happy about and grateful for. There's a lot to struggle with, but that's what the community's for. That's what we're all here for, right? So it's not all fun and games. And in the midst of all of the traveling, and in the midst of all of the vlogging, right, and podcasting, there's a lot of silent times of reflection, So that's what we're here for. That's what Community Conversations is about. That's what the Think Bigger project is about as a brand and as a company. That's what the Think Bigger podcast is about, is to give us a place to think, expand, and grow, okay? So, I could just keep going, you guys. There's so many locations. There's so many cities and people, that I have mentioned and attended and visited and spent time with people from the U.S. to the UK and Asia. So I would like to beg of you, ask and beg of you to take a moment, pick an episode, listen or re-listen to it, and share it with people via the methodology that you can. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, put the direct link. And here's another thing that people have actually been telling me for effectively an entire year, was that I should start a Patreon. And I've had people come up to me and say, I think that it's silly that you haven't done a Patreon account for this movement and this podcast. And you know what, truthfully, I said, why? I have merchandise. There are sticker packs and dad hats and snapbacks and shirts and hoodies. And granted, they're very limited releases, but I put out that merchandise and 100% of that merchandise sale goes back into the project. There's no profit. This entire thing is basically a nonprofit organization for the community. And they're like, that's great and all, but there are people who just may not necessarily want to purchase something, but they will donate to a good cause. And I'm interested, for everyone listening right now, what do you think? Message me, comment on Instagram, YouTube, and you tell me your thoughts on that, because maybe it's just my old school nature. I just don't find that to be something I'm inclined to do. I get it. I actually see its success for other people in various ways, but it's just kind of something that I haven't thought to do, regardless of how many people have suggested it. But I'm interested now. For all of the new and the old listeners, take the time to let me know what you think. It is a nonprofit organization. 100% of the merch sales go back into it to keep it all alive. And I thought that would be enough. But I've been getting more and more suggestions to also supplement all that with a Patreon. So I'm interested very much about that, to see what you guys think about that, So, you guys, some of this is very, very much things you've heard before, and some of it isn't. But whether you have been with me since episode 1, or you are just now hearing this from a Spotify search function, or iHeartRadio, or Apple Podcasts, or anything of the sort, please stay with me. Let's all grow together. Let's all help each other change the way that we think, because the way that we think is the way that we act. How we treat each other, how we conduct business, how we love one another. It all comes from the way that we think. And if we're able to think bigger, imagine what can and is already happening, and how much more can happen in all aspects of our lives, our health, bodily, physical health, mental health, emotional health, community health, health. One of the sayings that I have is, think bigger project, for the community, for the culture, each for the other. Do you guys understand what I mean by that? Each for the other. If each person is working not just for themselves, but for the others around them, if everyone is thinking about others, and we're all doing that, if each is for the other, can you imagine what we can and will accomplish? Okay? That's what it's about. This might be way deeper than you thought, but that's what it's about. We are humans. This is about the human experience and life and living and learning and growing. We don't all have it figured out. There isn't one person or one thing that just is the epitome, and you'll have a revelation and an epiphany, and just like that, you got it. No, it's constant. It's moment by moment, day by day, decision by decision, thought by thought, person by person, moment by moment, right? It isn't some pinnacle. It isn't some journey that you get to the end. Life is not about the ending. It's about the journey, okay? You guys, there are new designs coming out. If you can buy a Nike shirt or a Brixton or a Ruka or a Supreme anything for brands that have their own thing but don't give back or provide or come from where you come from. Think Bigger Project, Think Bigger Podcast, merchandise is something that you can be proud to wear in front of your children, in front of your grandparents, in front of your peers. The designs, the message, and you can represent something positive that you believe in. Everything is affordable, it's limited edition, and 100% of the proceeds go right back in to the project and the podcast. Okay? So, you guys, I love you. I appreciate you. 2019 was just the beginning. You guys are the foundation for going right into 2020. I'm excited about 2020. I'm excited about it Not everyone needs New Year's resolutions or the calendar to start at 1 again, but it's a powerful way to kind of kickstart things. And so, whether it be the sun rising on a new day or the sun rising on a new year, we have to embrace it and make it worthwhile. So, Think Bigger podcast, community conversations, all branches of the Think Bigger project. It has been a beautiful thing to be a part of and see grow. I look forward to growing with all of you guys. And thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. ThinkBiggerProject.com, Think Bigger Podcast. You guys, together, we will live life and experience the human experience together. We're not alone. We all have thoughts. We all need people. We all need to think. And that's what it's all about, you know. I'm bringing old school and new school together to strengthen the community and put the fun back into it, okay? Life's fun. Life is beautiful if you think about it. So I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting and sharing. And let's continue to grow together. 2019 was beautiful. Let's make 2020 even better. All right? I appreciate you, Al. God bless you.